Thanks for joining us for another episode of Making Music. I'm Amyre Makupson.
I'm Steve Moretti.
And we have a guest with us today that you know a lot more about than I do.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, Shane Bridges, who's a local staple in our community. Well, I first met him when I first moved to Macon.
That's right.
and recently got to work with him a little bit with Maggie Renfro and Josh Carson. And so it just came back to me that we need to get Shane on this show because he's been a local musical staple in Macon as far as I've been here. So we're happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So Shane, as a songwriter, I was thinking of some questions that I wanted to ask you. Sort of a two-part. Where do you draw inspiration for your material, but also artists that inspire you? Like, who are some of your musical icons that you draw from?
Okay, yeah, from a writing standpoint, I get asked that all the time as far as your formula, and there's really no formula. And it just, to me, music has always just come out of the blue. And I'll start off with maybe a chord or, a melody in my head. I used to have, before iPhones, I would take an actual little recorder with me. And I just would have tapes and tapes of melodies and lyrics that would come out of the blue, really. And just kind of, start the song and just let it go where it goes, and there's really, that's just always been my formula. There's no, adding and subtracting to the whole deal. It's just let it go and figure out where it takes me. And it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, I see where this is going, and then just let it go, Just create, awesome. I guess, just creating is what it is,
No, that's nice to be organic. And what about some of the artists that you admired that sort of inspire you, that you look up to?
I would think the very, and this is I could take you back to the actual date and time is when I guess my songwriting changed. Josh Carson and I had toured in a band named Acoustic Workshop, and it was when I was in college and he was in college, and we were on the road writing, and that was the time of Dave Matthews, and everybody was kind of into the jam thing a little bit, and that's what we did. But when I first heard Lyle Lovett, and not many people may know him, but he was famous for being married to Julia Roberts.
He's a fabulous musician. Has a wonderful band.
He has a great band, and I heard Lyle Lovett, and it's like this. It just changed my whole writing. It's like, okay, it changed the direction of what I the songs I wrote, and it really was a single artist, I would say, that took me off in a different direction. And from him, Lyle Lovett. I'm a huge Merle Haggard fan. Mm-hmm. From a songwriter standpoint, Ryan Adams. I've always loved Ryan Adams. But I have the Jayhawks, Crowded House. I just have a huge pool I like to pull from music.
Music and writing, has that been a part of your life since childhood?
It started in high school, really. And going back to Josh Carson, he's the reason I started playing guitar. He and I went to high school together. And during lunch, my senior year, he was playing guitar, and there was like 3 other guys, and I just would sit around. And my dad had an old guitar that I found in the attic, and put some strings on it, and started bugging Josh for, hey, show me a G chord, or what's a C chord, what's a D chord, and then it just, I'd always loved music because my brother and sister always grew up, and my brother was kind of on the cutting edge of music. He was always listening to the music that everybody eventually listened to way ahead of everybody else, So he would always introduce me into just really cool bands and stuff. So I've always loved music, but, playing the guitar, I was like, okay, learn the chords. Then I started, I'll never be able to sing and play guitar at the same time. But, it just happens the more you get involved. And I started writing, I guess, my senior year in high school. So, and then Josh and I went to college. And
did you guys go to the same college?
We did.
Oh, my gosh.
And started playing there, and just became. I guess we realized, that hey, this thing's catching on.
How did it evolve then from something that you started off doing for fun as something to became more or less kind of a professional thing?
It started realizing. I started realizing that hey, we're playing and people are coming out to the shows and they're liking what we're doing here, and you just feed off that, and that's what any musician wants, is you got to feed off the audience, and it just it takes you on a journey, and it did. Music took me on an amazing journey, and it's the the one thing I think that you know, music gives you way more than you ever give it. You know.
I agree. And the interesting thing too is no matter where you're at in the world, I was just having this conversation actually after this weekend with some of these younger musicians who came backstage and saying, you know, the one beautiful thing about music, it is the most common language on the
It
planet.
really is.
It's something that can connect with anybody from anywhere, even if you can't speak the same language.
That's right.
And I've had a few of those experiences where I've been put on stage with people that can't speak English, but all of a sudden you just connect through music.
That's so
and
true.
I think especially as a songwriter, you know, being able to connect with the audiences and have them really connect with your words, your melody, your song, transport them to a memory that, you know, that song evokes a certain memory. And
It does.
There's a beautiful thing about that.
It really does, and I realized that the first time I toured Europe, and you know, here I was, you know, had gotten an invite to go on a 6-week tour over there, and I was, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, here I am from a little small town in Jeffersonville, and you know, I just, you know, I said, okay, I'm going to do this, and I went over there, and the first gig, it was like they had heard music for the first time, you know, and it's because, you know, and I started off in France, but you know, it's universal, and you know, music, there's no borders at all. So.
The audiences in Europe are very honest.
They
If
really
they like
are.
you, they love you. If they don't, they'll let you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's seriously, they
Yeah.
don't, which I like. I appreciate because they love music. Not that Americans don't love music. I'm just saying they're so passionate about music.
They really are.
As a whole, that if they connect with it, boy, you go on this crazy ride with them.
You
and
do.
If they don't, get out.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that, you know, so I saw that first, and I was like, man, there's really, it's universal. It really is. And music it's just amazing to me. It's a language that everybody speaks, you know, and that's, you know, France, when I was in there, you know, I remember, you know, being in Paris, and there were these bands set up on, you know, the sidewalks, and this, you know, French guy was singing, trying his best to sing an American song and sound as American as he can, and you know, people just everywhere was loving music. But then when they heard someone that, hey, he sounds American, it's like, this is the real deal, you know. And anyway, it's just awesome to me, you know. It always
That's
has
cool.
been.
Now, in terms of, so you've been on the scene for a long time, and what we're trying to do with the show is sort of get more support from our community, support our local artists. So what are
Right.
some things that you see positively that have changed maybe over the last few years, and what are some things that you think our community can work on to you know, further support local artists?
You know, I think just looking over the last several years with the music here, I think the Moonhanger group has come in and really stepped up the opportunity to spread music in this town where, you know, as before it was, you know, you had some places to play, but there's now, I think they've set the stage where there's several venues that allow people to come in and hear, and allow local people. I've played, you know, on the stages as well, but you know, I think as a whole, just you know, studios, you know, more involvement. I think there's some rehearsal space down here now available that bands get together and, you know, rehearse. That was always the biggest problem in a band is, hey, where are we going to rehearse?
Right.
We always had places, but I can imagine people with, you know, maybe less opportunity or resources of knowing people that have buildings. It's rehearsal space, recording time, you know. You know, people ask me nowadays, in this, where we live as far as, you know, social media, it's so much easier now to get your music out as opposed to when we started. And, you know, I started playing in '91, and you know, it was grassroots. You know, you had to pound the pavement.
Absolutely.
And now you just put one good song out there, and it can just take off.
And they get shared. Well, do you think the Macon community is very open to our own artists here and supportive of?
You know, I think so. I think you know, obviously people in Macon that live here are prepared to know that, hey, they're from a music town, a music history town. So they've got to love music. It's not an option, you know. So I think they support music. Certainly anything I have done, I have had a tremendous support with people, and I'm very thankful for it, because this is where it all started for me, you know. So.
Yeah, I think one thing we've sort of been, it's interesting, I find that people in the community they're so self-deprecating on Macon. Like when something good is happening in Macon, it's almost like they can't believe it. Like, I can't believe these these people are playing here in Macon. It's like, well, they should be, and they're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And so I find that people do sort of pay homage to our past, but I think now we're trying to turn over that chapter in our history book, and with artists such as yourself and Josh and Maggie and James Worsham, who we had on, who was somebody new that I hadn't seen, who you know, and I find with Louise Warren and just all these our local community staple. It's about getting the community to provide an atmosphere, a supportive atmosphere, so there could be stability for artists to go out and play,
Right.
to write their music. And like you said, studios to be able to record that music, perform their music, because I think there is the ability to support yourself as an artist here because the cost of living it warrants that.
Right.
So it's getting that community to our community to get behind these artists whenever they see them playing at
That's right.
venue A, B, or C, or D.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
we're trying to do that with this show is get that out there, and then we're eventually going to have a platform that people will be able to go to that only focuses where local artists are playing.
Right.
So it's up to artists like yourself, and what we're going to eventually do is get all the artists that have been on the show to communicate with us, like who's playing where. You know, if you know of an artist playing at another venue, let us know. We're going to sort of put that up there. But it's just about cultivating that local support that's consistent.
Yeah. And I think the hardest thing I think from a musician starting off is getting booked, and some resource to help people guide. I mean, some people start off playing and they just, they're great, but they never get a chance to get out and play in front of people, and it's hard. It really is just competitive, and I think resources, having people the knowledge to how to put a packet together to get booked, and be able to. Start your career in music. I mean, it's a slow process. It really is, and you got to hang in there and pay your dues, I think. And a good song takes you far, as Jackson Brown said. And that's true. And that's the most important thing. Songwriting, songwriting clinics here would be awesome. A little. Songwriters in the round.
Well, that's funny because we mentioned that on one of the other episodes. But I also think that we need tools that provide music entrepreneurship, music business, and like you said, learning how to put an EPK together, learning how to network. There's basic tools that a lot of younger musicians who are inexperienced don't know how to get themselves out as a business and a brand.
Right. Copywriting. Or licensing of other music, I mean, there's just so many avenues in this business that, obviously you would learn at music school, but I mean, not everybody has the opportunity to go to school.
Not every music school goes through all those aspects.
That's right.
And it's not a part of all of their curriculum.
That's right. And there's just so many, and that's how, from an artist standpoint, you get paid from your writing, your royalties, and
that's your intellectual property.
That's right. That's it, and it's great money. It really is. It's mailbox money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You just walk to the mailbox and get your check.
Yeah.
But it's just there's a lot of avenues to look at and of how to help young writers out, of how to get copyrighted, how to get licensing, and I got really lucky when I got into the business and had some good success in licensing my music, and that went for a good while, and then that's just it's just a great avenue of income, it really
absolutely.
is. So that's
well, I think we need to hear some music. What do you
I'm
think?
looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Okay, let's do that.
Let's do it.
There's some wildflowers growing on the hill where the old oak stands. They remind me of that summer we held on to each other like two long lost friends. We meet up every evening like lovers with a secret nobody else could understand. Hoping time would stand still and I would have no end. I've never felt something so strong. Where did you go? When the leaves turn their shade of gold. town like a widow after the war. I can't let go. The summer of '64. I took a long drive. Imagine you were riding with the top pulled down. Yeah, the evening sun was setting like a picture made in heaven. Your long hair blowing in the wind. When the night came around, we laid a blanket on the ground, slept under the constellation. Then awoke from a dream that was only make-believe. How could something so good get lost? Where did you go? When the leaves turn their shade of gold. Where did you go? When the warm breeze had turned cold. I keep hanging around, walking this town like a widow after the war. I can't let go. The summer of '64. The seasons pass on by. Do you ever drift back in time to that summer when love burned wild? But you had to go when the leaves turned their shade of gold. You had to go when the warm breeze had turned cold. Yeah, I'm still hanging around, walking this town like a widow after the war. I can't let go. That summer of '64. I can't let go. The summer of '64. There's some wildflowers growing on the hill where the old oak stands.
Yeah.
Oh, friend, there's been a many good times we've had. We stuck together like birds of a feather, made it through the thick and thin. I never had to wonder whose side you were on, 'cause you had my back. As a matter of fact, you could run in any time I'd call. Time flies, and man, that ain't a lie. Good friends you count on one hand. You can't take it with you, so you might as well spend it making memories with your good friends. Good memories last all of your years. Well, I've got a buddy named Hank. Back in our younger days, we stay out all night, looking for a fight or some pretty thing to look our way. We never had much money, but we sure had us some good times. Man, what I'd give to go back again and do it all over again. Time flies, and man, that ain't a lie. Good friends you count on one hand. You can't take it with you, so you might as well spend it making memories with your good friends. Good memories last all of your years. don't go through life traveling at the speed of light. It's a roller coaster ride. You better have somebody by your side, because time flies and that ain't a lie. Good friends you count on one hand. Can't take it with you, so you might as well spend it. Get memories with your good friends. Time flies and man, that ain't a lie. Good friends you count on one hand. You can't take it with you, so you might as well spend it making memories with your good friends. Good memories last all of your years. Good memories last all of your years.
Nice.